What is up, everybody? This is WETOODEEP. I am the host of the Slapping Meat Football Podcast. This is episode 1. This is going to be sort of the teaser episode, trailer episode, first episode of what we hope to be a successful podcast here. This is a continuation of the Slappin' Meat sort of brand. We got the Slappin' Meat Wrestling Podcast on this channel, as well as now the Slapping Meat Football Podcast. If you are a football fan, we welcome you. Welcome you to go check out all the other, the wrestling podcast here, all the other content on the YouTube channel. If you're listening on audio, I appreciate you. Share, like, subscribe, follow, all of the above. Let us know how you feel about the show by leaving us a review, 5-star, 1-star. Let us know what you feel. Let us know how we can improve. As with this channel on YouTube and really the podcast in general started as a wrestling podcast, we are an affiliate of the WWE shop. If you are a wrestling fan, not only do we want you to listen to the wrestling podcast, but we do want you to help support us by going to the link in the description on both YouTube and on audio. There's a WWE shop link there that you can get your WWE merchandise through. As well, if you're planning any trips, it's the holiday season. If you're planning any vacations anytime soon, you can book through our affiliate link with Expedia. That link is also in the description. And then finally, our Discord link for sort of what we call the Junkyard Media Group. That is myself, my co-host for the Slappin' Meat Wrestling Podcast, DJ Wave ED, and then friend and my brother and my friend Cody run their show Beyond the Junkyard. We're sort of, as a conglomerate, the Junkyard Media Group. That link is in the description as well to join our Discord. A lot of wrestling talk there, but as we expand into the sports world, we hope to get some other talk. To other sports talk there as well, and we appreciate you all for listening. And so let's dive into this first episode. Probably going to be one of the few that we run in 2024. I wanted just to get a taste out there to accomplish several things. The first, publish the podcast on audio forms. Excuse me. I wanted to get this out there so that people can like and subscribe and get you and know where to find us at, right? But second, there are some amazing football things going on here, and we may do more weekly stuff with this as we end this year with the college football playoffs, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to discuss the final bracket. And then I got a case. The episode title is Expand, Expand, Expand. And I have a belief in something that I actually do believe, and that is that the college football playoff should be a 32-team field. And I'm going to make that case for you all on this episode. So let's go ahead and break down the 12-team bracket that we got today. All right, so it's Selection Sunday. So let's go ahead and break down this bracket. So we'll start with the 4 teams that get first-round byes, right? So Oregon was going to be a number 1 no matter what, right? I don't think there was any question that about really the first 2 seeds, with Oregon being 1 and then the SEC champion being 2, with that being Georgia. Right, I think we automatically assumed the Boise State was going to be one of these top 4. They ended up being the 3 with the result of the SMU Clemson game. And so really the argumentation here was, is Arizona State or Clemson a higher ranked team? And if we're being honest, like I could be biased being a Clemson fan and say, well, Clemson deserved the 4 spot. But if we're being honest, like if I'm not being biased, which I genuinely think I can do, Clemson is the worst team in this field, right? And deservedly so should be the 12th seed where they're located. Not against that ranking whatsoever, right? I actually like the top 4. I do. Like looking at this from a non-biased angle, I like the top 4 teams. I do. So let's go into the first round. Like I said, Clemson is the 12, right? They're playing Texas as the 5. Not a surprise with Texas here. Not a surprise at all with Texas. Essentially, what happened is the committee essentially just said, okay, well, number 2 and number 4, I forgot. SMU was 8 last week. Anyway, the people who lost their conference titles, we're not going to penalize them by kicking them out of the tournament. We're going to just move down, right? Because Penn State also lost. So, like, the teams that were sort of expected to lose the conference championships kind of did lose outside of SMU. And so they moved up Georgia, they moved up Boise, they moved up Arizona State. And then they just moved down Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame. They sort of kept them in the same order, right? So Texas being the 5 is fine. Penn State is the 6. Not an issue. We'll talk about who they're facing here in a minute. Notre Dame being the 7, again, not an issue. Notre Dame deserved to be in. The 8 seed being Ohio State. This is the last team to host a first round on campus. They're playing Tennessee, who is the 9. I expect that to be a really, really fun game. I secretly hope Tennessee wins. I'm not a big Ohio State fan. I think Ohio State's a little bit overrated. I think Tennessee can run the ball down their throat. And I can fully expect Tennessee. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's December. It's going to be cold in Columbus, Ohio. Sort of forgetting that Knoxville, Tennessee is in the mountains. Like, they get snow. They've dealt with all like this. That's not a big deal, right? Knoxville, Tennessee is, you know, not one of those. It's not like you're getting a team from the deep, deep South playing in Columbus, Ohio. So I don't think the environment's going to be that big of a deal. There's a really big chance that, like, you know, we're looking at the weather here. Like, I mean, it's getting into the 20s in Knoxville at night, right? Early morning, right? So the weather, I don't think will play that big of a factor. For Tennessee, Indiana's going to be the one going about 2 hours north to South Bend. I like this matchup, right? I think they did a very good job with these matchups in the first round, getting them. You know, Notre Dame, Indiana is going to be a fun matchup, and I think Notre Dame will win the game. But Indiana's a really good team, right? So really, the argument really came in. There were really 2 arguments, right? Because 10 of these teams were sort of like locked in, right? Like you knew Oregon, you knew Georgia, you knew Boise, you knew Notre Dame, you knew Tennessee and Ohio State and Penn State. Quite honestly, 11 of these teams were sort of almost guaranteed, right? And I say 10 because we weren't certain if Iowa State or Arizona State was going to win, right? But so we knew 10. We knew Texas, Tennessee, Ohio State. I think a lot of us assumed SMU, win or lose, would be in. I did. The whole week I was like, even if SMU loses, they deserve to be in. Penn State we knew would be in, win or lose. Indiana, you can't take a one-loss team out when their only loss is Ohio State. Notre Dame I felt was going to be in. Georgia we knew would be in. Boise we knew would be in if they won the conference championship, which they did. Oregon, without a doubt, we knew would be in, win or lose, right? And so really the only team of this 11 that we were like, well, they're not going to make it, was Clemson. Like, Clemson was the one, like, they had to win to get in, and they did, and they got ranked where they deserve, right? SMU is the 11 over Alabama. And so for me, this was the right way to do this, right? I don't care about who Alabama's beating. I don't care about, right? Wins are important, absolutely. But when you have 3 losses, with 2 of them being to bottom of the barrel SEC teams. You looked absolutely awful against Oklahoma, and then you lose to Vanderbilt. You have to get penalized for that, right? But I think the main factor that they did here is they did the just thing and didn't set a precedent that making the conference championship game and losing should automatically punish you, right? I think that this was my whole point this whole week, that if SMU lost, they had to be in because the committee's not going to punish you for having to play an extra game. And if they did, then you would have the interesting situation of like, well, why should we play the conference championship game then? Right? We want to win 11 games, not play the conference championship. There's no reason, right? And so I like the ratings, the rankings, the bracket, the way that it is. And so what we're going to do here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to predict live on air. I'm going to do my bracket challenge live on air right now as I'm recording this, right? So this is the 5-12 matchup, Clemson versus Texas. I'll be completely honest. Clemson's like 13-point underdogs. I'm picking Clemson. Partially because I'm biased, but also I don't think Texas is all that good, right? I think Ewers is highly overrated. I think Texas can be beaten. We saw that, last night. I think Clemson's defense, if it plays great football, can stop Texas. And I think the offense is playing the best football it's had. For Clemson, has been playing the best football it's ever played in the year, in this season, right? Cade's playing his best football. I thoroughly think Clemson has got really blessed with who the 5 was, because if this was Penn State like I thought it could be, or if this was Notre Dame like I thought it could be, Clemson's not winning this game. But getting Texas, I think, is a really good pull for Clemson. I do. So then we get Ohio State versus Tennessee. Like I said, I think Tennessee will win this game. I think that the environment's not a big deal. I think they can run the ball. I think they can play great defense. I think this is going to be a really close game. Ohio State could definitely win it. I'm not going to sit here and make it look like they're bathwater. But, we saw what they put up against, Michigan, and it wasn't that great of a game for Ohio State. I think Tennessee will win this game. They get a little bit over 10 days. They get about 13 days to prepare for this, about 2 weeks. I think Tennessee will win this game. We get SMU versus Penn State. I think this one, without a doubt, will be Penn State. Without a doubt, this is going to be Penn State. 100% think this is going to be Penn State. I think SMU is a very good team. They deserve to be here over Alabama. But Penn State's about to walk into Happy Valley, and this is where like the weather could make a difference, right? Excuse me. SMU, I think, is about to get dog walked right out of Happy Valley. I really do. Penn State is much better than Clemson is, and you can't, if SMU, especially if they start as slow as they did against Clemson, against Penn State, you can't come back from that, right? I think Penn State, this is the easiest of the first round games to me. Notre Dame, Indiana. Indiana's a good team. I don't think they're better than Notre Dame. I'm picking Notre Dame. I think that one's super easy, right? Then you get the Peach Bowl, Clemson versus Arizona State. I think Clemson got really, really lucky with their path to the national championship, at least to the semifinals, because I think Texas is an easy team, and I think Arizona State is a very easy team to beat. I'm picking Clemson to make it to the semifinals. Then you get the Rose Bowl, which will be Tennessee versus Oregon. And this is gonna be a crazy game. I don't think Tennessee stands a chance here. I think Oregon will win this game, and it may be like Tennessee gets dog walked back to Tennessee. But yeah, I think Oregon here does a good job of beating Tennessee, and I got Oregon there. We then get Boise versus Penn State. I think this will be a great game. This is a Fiesta Bowl. I'm going Penn State. I think Boise's a really good team. They've played one ranked team, right? So for as happy as I am that Boise and the power or the group of five, the non-power 5 schools, that they get representation this year, as happy as I am about that, I don't think they stand a chance against Penn State. They're a great team. I think Ashton Jeanty could really do some damage here, potentially. But here's the issue. Boise, they fought Oregon hard. I don't think they'll be just as lucky here. I think Penn State's gonna come in and beat them. There's a lot of pressure being a home team in this game. Welcome to the party. I don't think you're gonna stay long, Boise. There's no disrespect. You had a really, really good season, right? I don't think it's a thing that's gonna happen for you. You then get the Sugar Bowl, which is Georgia versus Notre Dame. And this is going to be probably the closest of the second round matchups to me. Georgia's a decent team, right? Carson Beck is ass, though. Let's just be honest. Carson Beck is not good. He's just like Quinn Ewers, highly overrated. Notre Dame, if they play Notre Dame style football, I think could win this game. And in fact, that is my pick. I do think Notre Dame wins. So now we get the semifinals, which I think it's going to be the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. We don't know. It's going to be based on like location and who wins and stuff. So I'm assuming Penn State, Notre Dame would be the Cotton Bowl, and then the Orange Bowl would be Clemson, Oregon. Doesn't matter what bowl it is. Oregon's going to dog walk Clemson. I'm a Clemson fan. Oregon's going to dog walk Clemson all the way back, however far it is, back to South Carolina. Oregon is going to the national championship game. So then you get Penn State versus Notre Dame. And that is going to be an insane game. Insane game. This is going to be a really good game. I don't know who to pick. This is real close. For a spot in the national championship, I'm going Penn State. I think my national championship game will be Oregon versus Penn State. And the national champion will be Oregon. I do think that Oregon will win the national championship. I think they're the best team in the country. And that's where I'll stand. That's where I'll stand with that. Now, the main point of what I wanted to do with this episode is lay my case as to why this needs to expand to 32 teams. And so I'll make that case real quick. So for the first part is, why not run it like college basketball? Yes, there's argumentation in March Madness about the last couple teams in, right? But you don't have a whole bunch of that discussion, right? But second, I think it's the fairest system because it's a start getting Boise in this tournament, right? It's a start getting some Big 12 representation because for the most part, let's be honest, right? If you go back and look at the SEC was always guaranteed at least one team, the Big 10 was always guaranteed at least one team, and then the ACC, as long as you had 10 wins and won the conference championship, you were guaranteed in a 4-team playoff. And then a lot of times it was either the Big 10 or the SEC, they got that second team. The Big 12, you basically had to go undefeated if you wanted to make it, and there was no chance in hell like a Notre Dame would ever make it unless like they were undefeated, and there was even less of a chance for a Group of 5 team, a non-Power 5 team like a Pac-12 team, even to make it, unless like they had to basically win all their games, so as much as I am happy for a 12-team playoff and an expansion from 4 teams, this is a step in the right direction. I still think you gotta go to 32. Here's why. I know the argument's going to be, well, there's no way in hell a team like JMU or Western Kentucky or Coastal Carolina would. I still think they need at least the opportunity. I still think the Sun Belt needs representation. The MAC needs representation. The CUSA needs representation. Even if it's just one team, that opportunity to play in for, first off, the opportunity for your conference championship to mean something because it gives you an auto bid into the playoffs, but also just, imagine like a run that a team like Army could go on. Like Army won the American Conference this year, right? They're 11-1 right now. If they beat Navy next week, they'll be 12-1. They're only lost to Notre Dame. Do I think they could beat any of the teams in the playoffs this year? No. But imagine like any given Saturday or any given game day, right? And imagine like Army beating Clemson or beating, the surprise upset of Army taking down like Georgia, right? That would be crazy, right? Imagine like a team like JMU or Western Kentucky, who are really good football teams that essentially they're winning conference championships just so they can go bowl gaming, right? And imagine them getting that type of representation and the type of run that a James Madison or a Memphis or something like that can get. I think it creates parity, and that players will start going to other conferences outside of the SEC and the Big Ten, because there's that, right? But I also just think it's the most fair system, right? It doesn't create equal outcomes. I'm not for equal outcomes. I'm not for equity, but I am for equality. And what I mean by that is equal opportunity for the conferences to be represented in the national championship picture, right? And so I think your 10 conferences, now 10 being once the Pac-12 comes back in 2027. But I think you do it this year, you do it next year, you do it for a third year, and I think when the Pac-12 is back, you and are bowl eligible, and have more than 2 teams, I genuinely think you can consider expanding to 32 teams, and genuinely have that conversation of like you get 10 conference winners, they're auto bids, that are automatically in the tournament, and then you get the next best 22 teams based on rankings, right? And I don't see how that's a negative thing, right? I think, though, in order for this to work, I think what the biggest problem with the committee right now is there's no set standard of criteria, right? So I think 2 things need to happen. You need to expand it to 32, and then you need to create a set standard of your criteria of how do you make the playoffs, right? What are we looking for? Is it wins? Is it strength of schedule? Because year to year with the current committee, with there being no standard, it's just basically whatever that year's committee is looking for. Right, for me, it would be wins. So like a 11-win team, an 11-win Marshall would get over a 9-win Alabama to me, just because you have more wins, right? I don't necessarily care about quality wins or quality losses. I don't think how you lost should matter. If it's by a field goal, to me, there's a couple things. Winning should matter. Winning I would make a standard with 32 teams. You're probably not going to get like an 8-win team in here, but you have to at least win eight games. That would be my standard. Like, we're not, if you win unless you win the conference championship game. So if you have a conference like the MAC, which beat up on each other every single year, and you have like a 6-6 team. First off, if you're 6-6 winning your conference, you got it. That conference, you get that one auto bid, but right, that's fine. But if you're not a conference champion, say you're like in an SEC and you're like, you're Vanderbilt, and let's say you beat Tennessee, you beat Alabama, but you only get 7 wins. You're okay. You got 2 quality wins, but you didn't meet that threshold to make the playoffs. Like, you need 8 wins, right? You have to. We can't reward mediocrity, and to me, 1 win above 500 or at 500 just isn't good enough. That's mediocre. We shouldn't reward mediocrity. So at least 8 victories. I think conference championship should matter. And making the conference championship should matter. Even if you lose. That's right. So I think get a set standard, 32 teams, 10 conference championship auto bids, the next 22 best teams. It's March Madness in December. You can call it December to remember. Done all the work for you. Get the Lexus sponsorship and run a beautiful tournament that can run all December into January. Forget about the other bowl games. They don't matter anymore. People sit out, all of this, right? The playoffs are inevitable. The BCS system sucked, right? I think any given Saturday should be the model. We should value winning. We should value winning, and yes, quality games. But what we would also need to do is everyone needs to join a conference. UMass, UConn, Notre Dame, join a conference. Win your conference. Win your games, right? Doesn't matter who you schedule, right? I think we need to change the scheduling system. I think you should play 8 conference games. And then if you're Power 5, so that's ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12, if you're in the Power 5, you should play an equal team in last year's rating. So let's say, Clemson won the ACC this year, right? So they play 8 conference games. And then they should play the winner of the other 4 conferences, right? If you finish second, you play second place in the other 4 conferences, right? And then if you're in the group of 5, right? So Mountain West, CUSA, MAC, American, and Sun Belt, same thing. You play 8 conference games and then the other 4 of those conferences of the same position you finished, right? Everyone joins a conference. I think, stop scheduling these easy games, if you're a Power 5, you shouldn't be scheduling group of 5s and paying them $1 million to lose to you. You should probably stop scheduling FCS schools that, play equal competition, right? I think we make the scheduling more equal, make the games mean more. I think there's some changes you could do here that will make the system good. 32 is a great system, right? These are meaningful football games. And everyone gets an opportunity for a national championship, or every conference gets an opportunity for a national championship, right? Every team at the start of each year would be playing, like UMass isn't playing for a national championship. Like, their goal is 6 wins every single year so they can make a bowl game, right? But if UMass could come in and say, hey, if we win 8 games, if we take care of whatever conference we join, they'd probably join like the American, right? If they got into the American conference and said, hey guys, we need to win, 9 games, take care of our conference, right? And win the American, we are in for a shot at the national championship, right? Right? You see what I'm saying? It gives each conference and each team something to strive for. Whereas you got teams like UMass and like UConn, who UConn had an 8-win season and probably happy about it, right? They're going to go bowl gaming. They probably will have a bunch of people sit out of it who don't feel like the game's worth it, and they're going to celebrate and have a great off season, right? Whereas, think of a system where they have 8 wins and they could be like Team 32. That means something, right? And so that's my case. My case is that I think it would just create a better landscape of college football. it creates something like March Madness for football. March Madness is always the best time of the college basketball season. So, yeah, that's my case. Let me know what you think. This is just a little teaser episode. Let me know what you guys think about this. And I'm not quite certain when the next episode of this will be. Definitely will be sometime, maybe in the new year. Maybe we set another one up in 2024. But definitely 2025, we're going once a week, every week. So I'll look forward to that, and hope you guys enjoyed this. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Slapping Meat Football Podcast.